Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. We are at 1358 Shady Creek Lane. We're going to do a repairability assessment. This is February 26th, and it is a very pleasant 58 degrees out. We are on the rear slope of this home. We identified a shingle right down there that is slightly damaged, and we're going to do a repairability assessment. That means we're going to take this damaged shingle out and put a new shingle in. While we're doing that, we're going to assess for unintended consequential damage, such as creasing, tearing, material transfer, and granule loss. We have identified a control square up here that we're not going to touch. You see you have a similar shingle that is damaged here, and outlined it so it's on the same slope, so we can identify before and after to show whether actions we took repairing this are related to the repair attempt or were pre-existing on the roof already. This will help us to determine if it's related to repair or not. So a couple things we're going to do. We have our flat bar there, and we're going to use that to break the seals along the bottom of this damaged shingle, except for the one that's already damaged. Then we're going to break the seals all along here and all along there. Then we're going to lift the nails from this top two shingles and then that top shingle there. That allows us to remove that shingle out and put a new one in. Then we're going to use brand new nails to drive near where the other shingles are. You never want to use the old holes. That's a bad nailing job. But you put brand new nails in, and then you again reassess for damage. Now it's important to note, on an older roof like this, you're always going to have some amount of granule loss. That's what G-loss is, granule loss. You're always going to have some amount of granule loss, so you have to be a little honest with the roof and with yourself. If you see a little bit of granules here and there, that's to be expected. But if you see a large cascade of granules coming down, you need to, again, be honest with yourself and with the roof and credit that as granule loss, and that is a significant form of damage consequentially from the repair. So with that said, I'm going to hand this off to my camera person. Make sure we keep everything in view here. Now, if we do identify a pretty significant source of damage when we are performing the action, I will call the camera person over to identify that so we can document it along the way. If you've noticed, I've expanded the scope on the work area here versus the control square up there that I showed you before, because when we break the seals on these, if we have material transfer, it's going to affect these bottom two shingles as well. Material transfer, if you remember, is when the shingles lift up, the adhesive can stick and cause damage to the top and the bottom. Like when you have wood glue on two pieces of wood and you take it apart, or on two pieces of construction paper or cardboard, you take it apart, it rips it apart and causes damage to both sides. So when we lift the seals here, you could potentially have damage. Now hopefully it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen every time, but sometimes. That's why it's included. So we're going to very gently and carefully try to break the seals on here. I'm just putting my hand here as a guide in case there's any sudden movements. You don't want shingles to go flying up. Just going to work it under there to break the seal. And that one's trying to be lifted. Yep, that one's already lifted. It's not a great sign for the roof, but makes it a little easier on me. Nice and easy. Look, a little stubborn. There we go. Sometimes just got to get it at a little different angle. That one's already lifted too, huh? It's important when you're lifting these, you don't want to jam it. It's a nice, controlled motion. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to step back down the slope a little bit, and we're just going to assess to see, do we have any kind of serious material transfer? Only lifting a couple inches. Nothing major there. We're looking for stuff that's major. It's going to cause a problem. Divots, major residue, that kind of thing. Nothing significant so far. Seeing some minor signs of it. There's some here. Yeah, why don't you bring the camera over here? I'll lift that just enough so you can see it. Only lifting about 2 inches. You can see right here where I'm pointing. As long as the camera can zoom in and see that. Bring the camera nice and close. Right along here, and then right along there. That dark spot where it should be a little shinier, that's the material from up top in here. So there's damage to this bottom one, and this is the damaged shingle already, but the top one is not. So as I'm feeling there, there's definitely a divot here. And along here, there's a smaller divot there, but there's a divot there. So we do have material transfer on this one. Why don't you stay right there? I'll take a look under here. And again, we have, wow, that's even worse right there. So you see that on the camera? Yeah, right there. So when you feel under there, there's a big divot right there. So we have, this is the same shingle. So we have 2 tabs on one shingle here. Lift this up here. Wow, that's even worse. So we have material transfer there and there and there. And so that's pretty significant. Not the worst I've seen, but it's sizable. Nothing major on there. A little bit, but nothing too bad. And nothing on there. So we do have material transfer on this shingle up here and this shingle here. So we do have 2 shingles involved right now. So you can go back over there. I'm going to start pulling nails. Now, we mentioned tearing. This is typically where you see tearing happening when you're pulling the nails out. Now, you're going to have nails, and I'll get these nails at the very end, but you're going to have some amount of tearing when the nail heads come through the shingle. That's normal. What's not normal is if you have a vertical or horizontal tear when the nail's coming out. You notice some kind of non-wind damage here. I don't know, maybe some critter got it or something, but some kind of tear here. That's kind of what you see, but underneath where the nail heads are. So far, coming out pretty well. And now what I'm seeing at the nails is the nails are right in the nail strip, right in the nail zone. So they're installed properly, which is good to see. And if you're doing what I'm doing, and that is tossing the nails off to the side, just remember to police up your nails at the end. You don't want to be lazy or sloppy and just leave old nails all over the roof. That's a sign of a bad roofer. These nails are coming out nice and easy. Not too easy, and not too rough. Just about what I'd want to see. Now when we pull this old shingle out, we're going to look at the back and the cellophane tape, and oftentimes, in fact every time, manufacturer will stamp their name over the back. If they don't, then we got a bit of a problem. That means we don't know who made the shingle. And then you start to run into compatibility problems. But excuse me. But as of right now, we'll see. Tamco, Certainteed, they put their names on it. Companies like Owens Corning. Owens Corning puts a big sign that says "Do not remove." Non-se quitar, or pardon my Spanish, I don't know it. Yeah, whatever the Spanish is. Alright, so this should slide up pretty easily. And it does. Alright, what's it say on the back? Nada. Nothing. Nada. So, yeah, that stinks. But, so what we can see is, I'm going to show on the camera here. This is what I mean by the cellophane tape right here. It should say something. It should say something and not nothing. So that's a problem. I'll bring over the new shingle now and you'll see what I mean. So this is a GAF Royal Sovereign shingle. And GAF Royal Sovereign, every single one of their shingles, they have the plant description, usually MY, and then the big thing is the arrow. So you see the arrow right there, and then MY tells you where it was made, 4442, that's your lot number, and then barcode. If you scan that barcode, it'll tell you everything you want to know about the shingle. But this is a GAF Royal Sovereign because you got the arrow, MY, 442, and the barcode. The other one didn't have it. Looks a little like a GIF, the old one, in terms of like the cellophane tape, but there's nothing on it to identify it. So, like if we were to send this out to get tested, I'd have a hard time identifying it. And if you can't identify it, then determining compatibility is going to be a challenge. And just understand, compatibility and matching are two different things, right? Matching is color. Compatibility has to do with size. Now 3-tab, not a big deal. Most 3-tabs are manufactured to within an inch or a quarter of an inch, which is pretty darn close enough anyway. The bigger issue is chemical composition, granule sourcing, water shedding, even how they manufacture the copper in them. It can cross-contaminate the shingle. So when a manufacturer says, hey, this isn't compatible, that's not roofers or public adjusters or adjusters, whoever. That's the shingle expert, the subject matter expert, the manufacturers, the chemists, and the other people designing the actual material, saying, hey, we hold the patents, we know what we're talking about. A is not compatible with everything else, or C is compatible with A, and maybe B under this circumstance, but again, not with everything else. So compatibility is a huge deal. It's something we take seriously. We don't know 100% if it's compatible, so we're good to put this in. We're not going to seal this down, however. That is standard in a repair, is to seal these things down, because if we seal this down, I do have roof cement on the other side, but if we seal this down and it turns out to be not compatible, then we got to pull the shingle up, right? And if you've ever had to pull up a shingle once it's been manually or hand sealed, it is just a nightmare, and it ends up destroying the entire roof, and then you just expand on your scope. And so while I certainly don't mind doing that, it's a nightmare. So let's start putting nails in, and we're going to put 4 nails in here and then 4 nails up in there. Actually probably 5 nails because of the shingle break. And don't put nails in your mouth. Now when you're doing this, make sure you're not just lifting that shingle like, woo, 100 million degrees. You want to keep it low so you're not, especially shingles like this, they're pretty rigid. It almost feels like cardboard. And it's a warm day, so it should be more flexible, but it ain't. It's an old roof. So try to be a little cautious so you're not just wrecking a roof. As Wreck It Ralph, that's not us. So don't be that guy. You know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but I mean that's. Change my position. Right. Some more nails out. I don't know if the camera there's catch-up, but I am seeing some granules come out. Nothing crazy yet.
Kind of picking up chalk more.
Yeah. And that's going to happen. It's hard to, differentiate that sometimes. So we do have some tearing here. You want to bring that camera over here again? Before we do anything else, I want to show you right here, right there in that tear. That's tearing from the nail coming out. Now it didn't occur at the nail head, but it appeared pretty darn close to it. That tear is small, but it's enough, and it's right at the hinge point. When the wind starts hitting this, or even over time, that's going to transition into a full-on tear. But so that is damage. That is a tear. So, all right, you can go back. All right, I'm going to do again. Okay. Not really. Ow. Man, that thing is brutal. It's a shingle break, so it gets two right here. Then I just should do it. Okay. So you only needed 4 and 4. You didn't need 5 and 4. So, keep the camera there for a minute. So where do we have damage? We know we have damage on that one, and that one, and that one. Is there any creasing? Take a look. Yeah, so there's creasing right here. I'm gonna bring the camera over here now. I'm just gonna mark that one there. Creasing. There's a little bit of creasing here. That's kind of equivalent. There's some creasing right there, and you can see by where it hinges right there. You lift it just a little bit. I don't want to lift it too much. But there's creasing right there. So that is a separate shingle. So I have a shingle right here. You see? We have a shingle right here. It stops here. We have a shingle here. We have a shingle here that stops. So this is actually 2 separate shingles. So we have 1, 2. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 separate shingles. So we have very, very small crease. If all we had was creasing, I think it'd be okay. But what else do we have? We have material transfer. We have tearing. That material transfer is pretty significant, and we do have the tearing done there as well. So let's go up to the control square. Let's take a look. We don't have any of that tearing. We're not going to lift anything up to show the material transfer. That was very clearly from it. And we don't have any creasing. So it's pretty obvious that the creasing, material transfer, and the tearing were directly related and due to the repair attempt. So we are going to have to classify this as a fail. Now, if you're curious as to where we get these standards from, creasing, tearing, material transfer, granule loss, that's from the National Academy of Forensic Engineers. That's not just something we made up on our own. That's the objective measuring rod for repairability assessment for shingles. So please look it up. Do a Google search. It's widely available online. Or if you can't find it, let me know, and we'll send it out to you. But based on this assessment, this is a failed repair. This roof cannot be repaired. Localized repairs are not effective. We're going to have to move to replacement. If you have any questions, give me a call, give me a text, give me an email. Otherwise, I'll see you all around the horn.